I would not be surprised if we seen a mass expulsion of diplomats.
If my husband wants to marry...
You need to ask yourself, what might compel you to get out of bed in the middle of the night and storm the local embassy, consulate, military base, or government building with 1 million of your brethren and declare war on a country? You have to really ask yourself that question, because that's exactly what has happened in the last few hours. In the middle of the night, millions of Muslims got out of bed and they decided that it is time to go and demand that their governments declare war on Israel. They are storming the embassies, they are storming the consulates. I would not be surprised if we seen a mass expulsion of diplomats, an egress of the embassies and consulates, and possibly a withdrawal of U.S. military forces from numerous countries as a result of what has happened in the last 24 hours. This really is a watershed moment. This really is a red line. It's a critical mass. They crossed the line. We're going to talk about the implications of the tragic events of the past 24 hours that just 24 hours ago I warned people was going to happen. I warned people that Iran, one, needed an excuse to enter the war. Well, they got it. I also warned people that we were probably going to bear witness to some of the most egregious displays of indifference towards human life that this generation has ever seen. Well, we got that with a bombing of a hospital in which babies were attached to incubators. Doesn't get much worse than that. Probably one of the most acute and striking displays of violence in an instant that we've seen even in this conflict, barring the initial terrorist attack that precipitated all of this. This really was it, okay? Bombing a hospital is something you just don't do. We'll talk about cui bono, who benefits from this. We'll talk about the reaction from both sides with respect to this. But the other thing I warned was there was a reason why Russia wore the velvet glove in their prosecution of their special military operation. And it is because of this very thing. You can act with impunity for so long. You can show no empathy for your adversary for so long. And this will work when you're the dominant force. When you're fighting a subordinate group who doesn't have the manpower, who relies on guerrilla tactics and asymmetrical warfare. You can get away with a lot. But eventually you cross a line. And the tables turn. We are seeing an outpouring of support for the Palestinian cause, the likes of which we've never seen before. And it is going to cause massive civil unrest and disarray. We are seeing politicians today come and speak out that I never thought in a million years would even utter any sort of resistance to that narrative at all. And they are. And that is different. We are living in unprecedented times, and nothing characterizes that more than the events of the last 24 hours. People need to understand how monumental what has just happened. This is huge. Now, there's a lot of division over who caused it, who done it. My own eyes, and based on the context here, before we get into whatever sort of sophistry and misinformation is being pumped out on either side, understand that this area was being bombed heavily, okay? Hundreds, thousands of bombs had dropped on this general region in the north already. So, reactively, reflexively, people would say, well, this was Israel who did this. The size of the explosion, not something that Hamas typically had in their arsenal unless they got something sent to them by Hezbollah. The size of the explosion was indicative of it. The fact that they were telling hospitals to evacuate prior to this, there was an official statement calling on hospitals that they needed to evacuate the north. They said they couldn't. There's explicit video showing doctors saying we can't evacuate because we have people who rely on ICU. They can't be transported, okay?
The book of 2 Esdras chapter 9, starting at verse 1. The point is at verse 3. He answered me then and said, Measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. Therefore, when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, and uproars of the people in the world, and uproars of the people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. For like as all that is made in the world had a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. So brada na nga salik fo siya video sa midray. Isa fatok no na herdi mi de up to date e follow sa EFSA. Tiso award na pe in Israel na nga Palestina. Isa bito. No de wero ap chuang e khober baka tiso Venezuela na nga Guyana agele Venezuela wang dua infal na pe in Guyana. Wallo sani khober wallo sani. So abif de up to date. Manunu ina video sa mi play ja ay sorry fantak Wereld Wijde Protesten about a feti a oorlog nuno dito sa Israel. Sabi ito, isukan am duwit man nga de Arabier, Palestina. Mga pinsa mi mahal anjaso na sorry fantak wallo protesta o kuber ina ainted in the last thing and to si de tikan dati art beefing people protest nations rise against nations sabig ba fantak benadara einde en na ina einde ude en nadat na sa yahaw basem yaw siya probeer tegi unuya Sofia Esdras tok taktiyo si de tikan sa amoro yo amit tegi unu before sa okoberi na einte tidetikan na dat the prophecy that oko in fulfilling im sabig batak na ina einte to be and nuno de ala de prophecy we si eko in fulfilling this no people no man deny the people sa talk one deny fintak ana einde na kung saan gebeurt uit het niets tenu e follow tak no an kung saan gebeurt uit het niets na prophecy no ine yere people etek de profita moro lek fon etek de lek kikobu etek de lek lafu ya pontu ete sa esyasan lek wan kik madam ista people sitak wer kala kala de sansa de mani se chakuna fesiyon ala sa tratu si de mande mabeta kabra de sanis jaren geleden en nun ala de saniko in fulfilling de people serve sitak no na true etaki a word of Yahweh bashim yaw shay na true ano unu word to na de word of Yahweh bashim yaw shay with chakuna fesitak ito bigi si de san si sabig ba fantak Yahweh shay de clues will be ina ainted hongors no to brika an moeilijk tijden op breken aan. Yahweh shay de clues derde wereldoorlog de ina making en uno de na ina begin voor derde wereldoorlog hoe de na ala de chip kleine oorlogen sa wisi echo bernuno de. Is ito. Dus keep watching tambegi sa fata uno leg bribi wan a kingdom de close and na mamasa no koberta pagronta po for sa kingdom kong. Dus yabif de sa fato ina spirit follow sa ipsa isa ito ako nag-give all praises all honors and glory to Abba na wala haya na wa Yahweh bahashim Yahweh Shai bahashim rakakoda shalamat double honors to the apostles and elders of great milestone and salutation to the hopeful elect Shalom.